BMAdawg here, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Beantown Sports Pound from IES Sports, your direct feed for all that sports. We got a thriller today. Patriots make a blockbuster signing. Who is that and more? And we're going to debut our ComAv colleges to check in with our men's and women's lacrosse team. How did our lone Harvard Lady Crimson do in the tournament so far? And then we shift gears to some puck action as the Bruins are struggling with their West Coast trip. And then we're going to head to their building and recap some Hockey East semifinals and finals. And 3 of our teams have made the NCAA hockey tournament. 2 are facing each other. Who is that and how can they go? And then for our co-headliner, opening day is starting very soon, and I'm pumped. Your Boston Red Sox start against the Texas Rangers, and I'll preview and make my predictions. And your main event of the evening is your reigning, defending world champion Boston Celtics, who just got sold for a whopping $6.1 billion. And there's an injury too. How does that impact their team? Turn up the sound. It's time for the Beantown Sports Pound. Woo! All right, everybody. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in tonight. We have made it over a month here at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. There's going to be a lot of you seeing this for the first time. I am your host, BMAdawg, and your match card for the evening. We're going to start off with some breaking news. One of our biggest opener segments to date. The Patriots have signed a star receiver. Then we're going to check in on our lacrosse teams as I want to try to introduce some spring sports. It's a learning experience for me, and I know it will be for you guys as well. And how did our one team in both genders in the Boston area do, the Harvard Lady Crimson against Michigan State? Then we're going to take our break and shift our gears to some middle of the puck action with the Boston Bruins is having a West Coast road trip from hell. Is it all done for them? And then we're going to talk in their building about some Hockey East Hockey East semifinals with 2 of our teams, Northeastern and BU, in action. How did they do? Who won the finals? And then 3 of our teams made it to the NCAA Frozen Four tournament. And 2 of those teams, one is a Cinderella in the glass slipper. The other is a dominant historic hockey program. And then we're going to talk about some opening day as, can you believe it, folks? Red Sox season starts tomorrow, and we have our biggest expectations for the team since the start of the pandemic. And then for our main event of the evening, the Celtics have gotten sold. And unfortunately, there's a very big injury that happened while they were on the West Coast. Who is it and why? And we're going to end our show after our main event with my play of the week. How are we going to have a 2-time play of the week today? Everyone has gotten it. 2 Bruins, 2 Celtics. Will there be a 2-time champion with some 2s? Find out now after a word for our lovely sponsors.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, everybody. I would like to thank our wonderful sponsors, Planet Jerky, Beef Brisket Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seal, Vital Apparel, and our flagship company, the company that makes this possible for me, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all sports. As always, follow us on our X account, our flagship account, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube at iesportsradio.com for all our blogs too. And you can follow me too. But before you do that, we got one extra sponsor for you. Meet our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Get rawnutrition.com. Use promo code IESR for 10% off. That is right, folks. And if you want to keep up with me, I got two accounts. My professional account at Beantown IESR, and my personal account at capital BMA, lowercase DAWG, dog, BMAdawg. On our X account, that's where I promote a lot of my stuff. I've been promoting a lot of Boston sports lately. And as you know, pretty soon we are starting a supporters club here at IE Sports Radio for all our 30 other plus other regional programs. We also have a hockey show, basketball. This time of year, it's popular. A new baseball show. We even have a wrestling show, and I'll be making a trip to Vegas soon for that. And we have a bunch of national and local regional programs here at IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that sports is a wonderful program, and everyone gives it their all, including myself. And let's get in the comments section before we start for the day. Rick Keller says, "What's up, Brian? Excited to see what Diggs can do in New England. Glad May finally has a weapon." Absolutely. Terran Rodriguez, the host of our SoCal Supreme Sports Report, he must be excited because his Dodgers technically already started with their World Series ring, but he must be happy because the Kings have destroyed the Bruins the other night, and he's writes, "Good evening, BMAdawg. Have a great show." Thank you, Terran, for always checking on all of us and IE Sports Radio. And now let's get started with the opener of the evening. Your opener segment is scheduled for one fall. And it is breaking news, our biggest opener in our 5 episodes so far. Not only is it New England Patriots news, breaking news, we got our wide receiver one. Fuck yeah. It is former Bill and Texan Stephon Diggs for 3 years, $69 million. What a number that is. Where does this leave their draft strategy? Well, folks, I am so excited. Sorry about the language, but I am so excited. Not only does this change how we are offensively, we spent an awful lot of money in free agency. The Red Sox have too, but due to our back-to-back terrible 4-win seasons at one Patriot place, Kraft decided to spend some money. Not just on the big, huge, beautiful lighthouse that is over where the CBS scene used to be. No. He signed Milton Williams, our defensive tackle, Super Bowl champion from the Eagles, right tackle from the Jets, Morgan Moses. And we got my favorite pick. We got 2 receivers. We got both of them are former Buffalo Bills. The guy who wore the animal muffin man, Mac Hollins, who actually had a Super Bowl catch in the AFC title game against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry. And we got Stephon Diggs, who actually started his career. He's more known for being Josh Allen's favorite target when he felt like he wasn't getting the ball enough as he should. But he also started in the Minnesota Vikings. If you remember that thriller game against the New Orleans Saints in the divisional round years ago, when the Vikings were down by like 2-3 points and they were thinking about a field goal, he caught that ball, looked like it was going to go out of bounds, and he ran it in the Miracle in Minneapolis, and that was the play he's known for. But hey, you know what they say, a lot of good treasure in Minnesota becomes even bigger value once they come to New England. You got the likes of David Ortiz, Big Papi, who got traded right before we traded Nomar Garcia-Parra, actually. We also had KG, Kevin Garnett, coming traded from the Timberwolves to the Celtics to lead the 2008 biggest turnaround of all time. Yeah, the Pistons are turning around as they were one of the worst teams of all time last year, but it doesn't come close. We became worse to lead overnight. We also have a former star Red Sox David Ortiz, like I said. But anyways, let's get to the present, shall we? Mike Vrabel is a very defensive-minded coach. We all know that. And a lot of people are scared about Stephon Diggs coming to New England because of how he left Buffalo and his antics. And don't forget that if he had stayed healthy, the Texans might have gone farther than the second round because they did beat the John Harbaugh and the newly looked ground and pound Los Angeles Chargers. But he had two other guys to get carries from. And he had a record game during my only game I went to last year, Drake May's first career start, where he looked pretty decent. He threw a couple touchdown passes, but Stephon Diggs also got 2 touchdown passes in this game. And last year he tore his ACL, which worries a lot of people. Felt like we could have gotten Chris Godwin from the Bucs, Cooper Kupp from the Rams, who went to Seattle and is going to pair with Jason Smith-Nigma from the Ohio State University, who we're going to talk a lot about later as one of our hockey teams are playing them. Chris Godwin re-signed. You got Devontae Adams going to Los Angeles to pair with Puka Nacua, and the Rams and Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams. And we got a bunch of draft strategies. Where does this leave us? If someone was preferring that they probably still do. Hopefully we got Travis Hunter, then it still is a great pick. Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. You can't go wrong with any of these picks. And even Will Campbell from LSU could make a good pick, or Joe Alt and Ted McMillan from the University of Arizona could make good sleeper picks. But another guy they could get is Austin Jeedy from Boise State, who has potential to be like what Barry Sanders was in Detroit or Walter Payton in Chicago. That could be a good sleeper pick too. We got plenty of options now. We don't have to stress if we can't get Travis Hunter in the draft. But speaking of that, it could get a little complicated because the Giants, who have the pick ahead of the Patriots, it's funny that last year we had the pick right before the Giants. We lost in overtime against them. We had number 3, they had number 4. Now it's the other way around. We ended up getting Drake May, and they got Malik Neighbors, who's a phenomenal wide receiver from LSU. Guys in LSU and Ohio State are becoming all-star receivers. You're guaranteed to be good in the NFL if you come through that path. But they might get Shedeur Sanders, son of Coach Prime, who also played for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, in the University of Colorado. And you got, speaking of, Travis Hunter, a Heisman winner, which I mentioned earlier. That would be phenomenal if he could come. I know we signed Carlton Davis from the Detroit Lions, too, to pair with Christian Gonzalez, who would have won Rookie of the Year a few years ago if he didn't get hurt. That would be phenomenal for us. There's always room for him because he has potential to be a centerpiece like Ohtani from the Dodgers and Bo Jackson and what Babe Ruth does hundreds of years ago. You got potential in that. But you don't have to panic anymore if we don't end up getting someone like a Travis Hunter. You really don't, because there's a lot of good receivers out there too, which we got Stephon Diggs. I'm happy. I know people are worried because he came off a torn ACL. Look who else did. Have you ever heard of the name Julian Edelman? He was one of our slots. He was drafted from Kent State. He was originally a quarterback, but look how he turned out. He had a record-breaking year the year after he came out from his torn ACL. It's not a run. If it were a running back, look at Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, he wasn't the same last year since he came. It is a hard injury to recover from. Tom Brady did it when the year after a perfect season we should have. He got hit in a cheap shot by Bernard Pollard and the Kansas City Chiefs. He turned out okay. Of course, he struggled, but I'm not worried about Diggs. We have Mac Hollins, we got Demario Pop Douglas, who should be improving this year. We also got Kayshon Boutte and Kendrick Bourne. One of them might go. You also got Javon Baker and Jared Polk. We thought one of those guys was going to be a great target for Jacoby Brissett, who's in Arizona now, or Drake May, but they didn't turn out fair. But Gerard Mayo didn't do well offensively, as we all know. And in order to win leagues in the National Football League, I think Vrabel has taken a key from not only when he had Derrick Henry in Tennessee, who's a Baltimore Raven now, but you also have the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is an elite QB, and Drake may get up there. Look at the breakout year Jaden Daniels had for the Washington Commanders going all the way to the NFC title game. But he had a receiver we could have had like Scary Terry McLaurin. And if the Pats draft Hunter or McMillan, maybe we'll break that curse. But we got N'Keal Harry instead of the likes of A.J. Brown, who's in the Philadelphia Eagles. DK Metcalf, who isn't a Seattle Seahawk anymore. But I thought he didn't want to play in the cold weather, so he went to Pittsburgh, who knows who's going to be quarterback for that team. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they get Aaron Rodgers, for crying out loud. But we're in a great situation. We have the most cap space in the National Football League, and we still have enough money to spend, and we had a lot this year. I feel really great and optimistic about our future. But I got some breaking news similar to what we're getting into next. How I had everyone vote on our professional Beantown-IESR account for lacrosse or baseball and softball for the colleges. Lacrosse won in a landslide. I am going to do a new project. We got 3 episodes until the NFL draft, and I am going to reveal to you each week 3 different mock drafts. One, if we get Travis Hunter. The other, if we get edge and linebacker from Penn State, Abdul Qadir. Third, if we get Will Campbell, tackle from LSU. I am going to reveal and look into all the draft prospects that go all the way through 7 rounds, and I am going to try to make the best decision. I know we still need wide receiver there. We definitely need linemen, because look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They got Saquon Barkley from the Giants, and they won a Super Bowl with a great offensive line. Even though Jason Kelsey retired, Travis is still there, glorified by Swifties who know nothing about football. But you got a lot to look forward to. Before I go in the next section, we are done for the Patriots talk. I am excited to see what Diggs is going to do, but we got all year to talk about the Patriots. Now let's go look in the comment section, shall we? And Rick Keller said, Hunter would be great to pair with Diggs, but with Giants getting Wilson, I'm not sure if Cleveland or New York will get Shador. And the Tennessee Titans currently have the number 1 pick as well this year too. Don't forget that. They may get any player, Travis Hunter, Abdul Qadir, Cam Ward of Miami, or Shador, obviously. But it remains to be seen. I'm very excited to see what the draft poll. But the biggest sigh of relief I can think of, folks, the biggest sigh of relief is that we got a wide receiver like that. And I know people are complaining and aren't too thrilled about it, but because some people worried about their injury, and like I said earlier, about all his potential head cases in Buffalo, where he did get over 10 touchdowns a year. But we are moving on, folks. Yes, we are. That is enough Patriots talk for the night. We got all year, and you get to vote tonight on whether I should start off with Carter, Hunter, or Campbell to build my mock draft around, as I am going to show 3 different weeks. And now we are going to move on, shall we, folks? I am very excited. Thank you for Rick and Taryn, who's joined the chat so far. We are going to take a live look at our debut on Comm Ave Lacrosse, men and women. Like I did in episode 2 with the basketball teams, and I started 3 with the hockey teams on episode 3. We are going to talk about Comm Ave Lacrosse, men and women. I am going to try to, when I cover college sports, BC, BU, Northeastern, Harvard, and even Bentley, since they're D1 in some sports. All right, and here, BU men are 7-1, Harvard men are 5-1, BC women are 11-0, top ranked in the country. The Harvard Lady Crimson are 5-3, and your BU Lady Terriers are 7-3. But let's talk about some star players for all these teams. I am going to recap more games as we go on to the summer. As, believe it or not, folks, not only did I just talk about the Patriots and they have the Revolution, they are hosting the D1 National Lacrosse matchups later on in the year in May. We'll have coverage of that. And I'm going to cover in the summer, we need teams to cover to fill the void, so we don't just have Red Sox talk. We are going to cover the Boston Cannons, who play their games at Harvard Stadium. But speaking of Harvard, pack your cars. Let's go recap the 5-1 Harvard men's team. There's actually only 2 men's teams out of the 4 that have D1, and it is Harvard and BU. Sam King is one of their star senior attackers who leads the team in goals, assists, and points with 24 goals, 14 assists, and 38 points, respectively. There are 2 others on that team that is tied for second in goals with 16, and they are Jack Spittle and Teddy Malone, with Malone second in assists in points with 12 and 28. Stephen Graham is the goaltender with 85 saves for the Crimson and started every single game for the Crimson because I think lacrosse season starts around February. And for BU, you got Jimmy Core, who leads the team in goals with 23 of the season, while Timmy Sheehan leads the team in assists with 19 and points with 39, and both are tied for shot percentage at 3.377%, while Jimmy O'Connell is second in both in goals, assists, and points with 17, 15, and 32 points respectively. Will Barnes is a senior goaltender with a 7-1 record with the Terrys with over 100 saves of the season. That is pretty amazing, folks. As I said, Northeastern doesn't have men or women's lacrosse teams that aren't college level. It's more of a club organization. But where BC lacks in men's lacrosse, oh boy, did they make up with it with the ladies. They are 11-0 of the year and 4-0 in the ACC conference. They're unbeaten and top ranked in the whole country with the goals. They outscore their opponents 204-70. They are led by attacker Rachel Clark with 51 goals. Eva Pinto is second in goals and points with 38 and 53 respectively, and tied with Clark with second in assists. They are doing pretty good. They also have a red bandana game similar to what it's a nice story. It's pretty tragic and sad with how the BC football team does to honor the kid with the red bandana who helped out in the World Trade Center and is a hero to many of us and sacrificed his life to save everybody. They have a big game this Saturday at noontime against Pittsburgh. And let's move on to our BU Terriers. They have 7-3 record and 1-1 in the Patriot League. They are led by Isabella Monti, who leads the team in goals and points with 23 goals and 27 points. Avery Jones leads the team in assists with 10 assists. Hannah Tiller is second place in points with 22. Natalie Aloza was goalkeeper of the week in Patriot League. Congratulations to her. And the Harvard Lady Crimson were 5-3 on the year so far. 1-1 in the Ivy League. Caroline Mullaney leads the team in assists and points with 24 and 34. Charlotte Hodgson and Grace Mullally lead the team, tied with 15 goals. Kaylee Beckender is tied second in goals, assists, and points with 14, 10, and 24. That is all I got for lacrosse for now. I can't wait to look more into it as the future and the spring goes along. We will go back in 2 weeks with lacrosse. I'm going to look into our Commonwealth baseball and softball teams in our university. Speaking of Harvard, please park your cars and introduce our lone team to make the NCAA in both women's, and men's. They didn't make the men's, obviously, but to represent, it is the Harvard Lady Crimson NCAA tourney. How did they fare in round one versus the Michigan State Lady Spartans? It is amazing that they got this far. As I said last week, they were third place in the Ivy League. They were top 1 and 2 in goals, top 1 and 2 in the semifinals and finals in the Ivy League. They won by 3 points in both those games against Princeton and Dartmouth. They came into the Spokane region with the 10th seed in the Ivy League title. They faced the number 7 seed Michigan State Spartans. They were 24-5 for the year, 11-3 in the Ivy League. Harmony Turner and Alina Rodriguez led the Lady Crimson in minutes with 39 and 32 minutes respectively in this game. Harvard played a terrific first half at the neutral site. The Spartans did take an early lead in the conference with the first 11 points in the game, but the Lady Crimson did take the momentum after the first half of the first quarter, resulting in an 11-2 run on the Spartans as they got extremely physical with the Crimson, as all of Turner's points were free throws, same as sophomore Abigail Wright. The first quarter was extremely close with Harvard, only down by 4. Rodriguez had an amazing block in the second quarter on the rim as both teams excel on defense, with the Crimson only trailing by 5 in the first half. But the momentum really changed against the Lady Crimson as the Spartans took control in the third quarter and never looked back as the Spartans went on an 11-0 run within the 5 minutes left in the third quarter. The Lady Crimson did shrink a 15-point lead and played really well in the last 4 minutes with Kylie White with a free and Abigail Wright with a with a layout. And Hermione Turner, who's been a star all year for the Crimson, getting the rest of the points as they dominated the end of the game with some rebounds and steals. But it was a little too late, as there are no miracles this year for the Beantown College Hoops, as the Crimson did the best out of all ComAv colleges with losing to the Lady Spartans 64-50. They forced 24 turnovers on the Spartans, the most top 3 out of all teams that gave them trouble and caused turnovers all season. What an amazing season by senior sensation Hermione Turner. Not only did she lead the Crimson with 24 points on the evening, but got a little over 2,000 with 2,032 points, third of all time in Harvard history. Harvard ends a single season with 24 wins, the program records for most wins in a single season. And that is all we have. And I'm going to take a look on the comment section. Ralph Calise, the host of our Friday night sensation, the Yinzer Report, said, "Good evening, Brian. Have a great show." He does a terrific job, does investigations with his black and gold team. Speaking of that, we are going to take a commercial break, and we're going to have a middle of the puck as our first intermission comes to close. You are watching as part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Yinzer Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold, and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
All right, folks. It was since we are heading into the hockey middle of the show, I had the Yinzer Report, as Ralph Calise was nice to comment and always check on everyone's show. I gave him a shout out. He does a great job with Pittsburgh sports. But there's another guy who does a great job with Chicago Sports, Chi-Town Weekly, and the Neutral Zone with Adam Karnick. And he does a great job going over the Frozen Four, all the NHL teams, your men's and women's teams. And this is going to be the big theme of our middle of the show. We got 3 of our ComAv colleges going to the NCAA tournament. And we got 8 teams in the region of New England making it as well. That is amazing. And I'll take a look in the comment section before we get through the second part of our show. It is, speaking of Ralph Calise, hit the thumb for BMAdawg this episode. Absolutely. My quest to be one of the best podcasters of all time. Obviously not the best, but on top with all the greats. It's going good, and thank you so much, Ralph, for your support. But speaking of black and gold, what a disaster this is turning out to be. As we are going to talk about our Boston Bruins, they are struggling on the West Coast. It is a plane ride through hell for them, as there's some locker room drama putting up. There was a little bright spot for the future right at the trade deadline. As you go through my third episode, I have the career and impact of Brad Marchand as my main eventer and this team. We all miss him. There is no captain right now, and it's showing. Joe Sacco didn't assign the captain. But here you go. The West Coast trip is a plane ride from hell. Will they get a top pick, or will they try one last miracle for a run in the wild card spot that is currently owned by the two Canadian teams, the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens? Not so good. But you got the Detroit Red Wings in the same spot we all thought they were going to go. And we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, which you thought were going to make a run there in the same spot as the Bruins, making a deep run. And you got the early conference favorite New York Rangers, who nearly made the Stanley Cup this year, losing to Brady Tkachuk and Sam Reinhart and the Florida Panthers. Oh, we could talk all day about how they've been our kryptonite for this Boston Bruins. 2 years ago, we were driving in to think we were going to win the Cup. Well, we broke the record and the most wins in a single season in NHL history. But now more than half the team is gone, as the Bruins have a new direction for the future. But I think they're going to be a lot better next year. But unfortunately, this season is going as well as the Snow White movie in the box office. It's completely flopping, if you know what I mean, because high expectations and those apples have been poisoned and dropping, folks. Oh boy, with all that drama with the Bruins. The Bruins have been throwing away in the white towel since their 2-game win streak, which felt like months ago, as they have lost 6 straight games in the middle of a long road trip as newcomers Middlestat and Kushikonov, who he got through the trade deadline, have been the only guys stepping up for the team, as our young defenseman and especially goaltender Jeremy Swayman, which a lot of people are worried about the money we paid Stefan Diggs. As I explained earlier, Jeremy Swayman has had a struggle season since I think a lot of players were very upset when he held out all summer hoping to get paid. And as a result, they did pay him. He did outstanding in round 1 last year against the Maple Leafs in the regular season. Don't get me wrong. And Corpusel hasn't done that bad this season either. But you got Linus Ullmark traded to Ottawa to try to please Jeremy Swayman. And it looks like the Senators are going to make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And you got the West Coast trip starting in Vegas. I hope I have better luck in Vegas when I go there for WrestleMania in a few weeks, compared to the Bruins had against Bruce Cassidy, the former Bruin, who I wish was still our coach, should have never left. The players should have just stuck it up and played with him. They get paid anyways. The Bruins had the start of their 6-game road trip with Bruce Cassidy, as the first period looked like it was going to be a close game as it was scoreless. The momentum changed with Zadorov slashing penalty, which Pavel Dvorov got his power play goal as the momentum changed the game and didn't look back since. The Bruins were outshot for the 5th consecutive game as they averaged 20 shots a game. Some Bruins defensemen have over 20 minutes of ice time, and one of them was Mason Laura, who had a -2 and +- for the night. Star player Jack Eichel, Massachusetts native, who was on Team USA in the Four Nations face-off, had 2 assists of the night, and Dvorov was the player that gave the Bruins that people did not like to see for the rest of the night. He was the Bruins' kryptonite for one night only, as he got his power play goal and the momentum change and didn't look back since, as he ended up getting a hat trick. The Bruins in the second period of the game only had 4 shots Morgan Geeky, who should win their 7th player awards that's sponsored by Nesson, I believe, he should be anonymous winner. It shouldn't be a contest. The best free agent we got, and he's played like he's played here for years. It's kind of like star player David Pastrnak, who's top 5 in the goals this season. He was their one consistent performer all season long, despite the locker room drama, especially with what happened with Marchand and Pastrnak months back. As Pastrnak and Zacha got the assist on that goal. Zacha has shown some promise as he won 12 out of the 13 faceoffs against the Golden Knights that night, as the Bruins have been playing decently in the faceoff. Obviously, nothing will be as A+ when Patrice Bergeron was captain with the helm. And the Bruins may have out-hit the Vegas Golden Knights, but goaltending was a huge issue as Swayman gave up a ton of goals to give Aiden Hill a win on 18 shots and improve their Pacific Division lead. But it's going to get better, right? They're playing the NHL worst team in the league in NorCal and the Shark Tank. It's supposed to get better. We're supposed to pick momentum, right? Wrong. Now they head to the arena that hosted Jumbo Joe, one of the forgotten star players of the Bruins who in the late 90s and early 2000s before the lockout was one of our star captains and goal scorers who many forgotten about because the peak of the Bruins since the early 70s started right after 2 years after he got traded for basically nothing. That got O'Connell to ship as GM, and a lot of people are begging for Sweeney to be dealt with the same. But I think he did do good on the trade deadline. We finally got some picks back. I know it sucks losing Marchand. We should have gotten a lot more for him as he's in Florida. We got plenty of value for Brazeau and Coyle, but we should have probably got more. But anyways, now they head to the arena. That is the worst team in the NHL this season. This time, Corpusalo got the spot for a struggling Swayman in net and had a decent game, but it didn't matter as Sharks had the momentum-changing second period. The theme for the Bruins' Western trip so far is to keep the game close in the first period, but William Ekman, one of the star players for the Sharks, it's hard because a lot of people don't follow West Coast hockey, especially with the worst team in the league, doesn't help anything, and we no longer have their AAA affiliate in Worcester. Former first-round pick through the Sharks, got the first goal in the second period and assisted the goal in the third period that gave the Bruins the loss. And Middlestat was the lone goal for the struggling Bruins team as Alexander Georgiev looked like his old self and saved 22 out of 23 shots, where our first line was nowhere to be found in the Shark Tank. Because there are times, you know how the Celtics have the next man up mentality Bill Belichick described for the Patriots for many years. But it's either when Middlestat or Kusakonov, Pastrnak, Zacha, or Geeky show up. One of them, two of them show up, the other three don't, and vice versa. But now we got back-to-back all the way in the opposite end of California and Southern to the LA Kings, who has a lot of tenured players similar to how Brad Marchand was here. And there were traits of Zdeno Chara in that game from one of their players, as the Bruins played back-to-back games in their road trip. This time, the Drew Doughty and Anze Kopitar of the now second place in the Pacific Division, LA Kings, which is competing with the Edmonton Oilers, the face of the NHL, Connor McDavid. And you got them competing with the Jack Eichel and the Golden Knights, who we talked about earlier. That's going to be a tough division. They're going to kill each other when they play each other in the first and second rounds. I am excited as Edmonton has two of the best players in all of hockey right now, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. But the start was really promising as, oh my God, they scored their first shot of the game. It was who but Elias Lindholm had a nice pass from Cole Kopech, who had a couple of goals since post-trade deadline. He showed some promises, who assisted and played decent defense the past few games. But he set up that deep goal for Lindholm that got the Bees on the board for the first lead in this long road trip. But like all season long, the excitement led short when two played that game, as two can play that game, as the Kings tied it up on the first shot on net, as legendary two-time Stanley Cup winner and the face of the franchise, Anze Kopitar, scored their first goal of the night. And there was a graphic shown when watching the Nesson broadcast. There was a packed day for sports as there was March Madness on of Celtics versus the Trailblazers and the Women's Frozen Four. There was a graphic shown as he is the top 3 in most King categories. You wouldn't believe how loyal he is. It's kind of like how David Andrews with the Patriots. A lot of people, and Matthew Slater, a lot of people don't realize how long they were in their tenure for that team. Was top 3 in most King categories, only trailing the great one, Wayne Gretzky. One of the who we're going to talk about to close the Bruins segment later, as they're going to face, when they return home, they're going to face a player who's chasing history. One of the few bright moments for the Bruins was when Swayman robbed Adrian Kempe from the wraparound goal. But under 30 seconds left in the third period, the Bruins left wide open Warren Fogle, as he got his 100th goal in his 500th career game. Then who else in the second period? Then Morgan Geekie scoring in 2 out of 3 games to even it up for the Bruins, with Zaka getting the assist. It didn't matter. A few minutes later, defenseman and longtime King Drew Doughty scored a huge slap shot that went over Swayman's head to give the Kings the lead, and goaltender Darcy Cooper attacked Zadorov to hit him from behind. And Swayman starts leading the crease in the neutral zone. We were going to have a combat heavyweight fight in one of the biggest media markets in the world. But those zebra asswipes decided not to let them fight. Oh, my God, what were you thinking? To get momentum back, Swayman showed some poise and stood up for his teammates. As the night got worse, just like we were robbed from our fight, we were robbed from a competitive game, just like our disappointing season. As Quentin Byfield of the Kings came into the game with a 7-game home goal streak, and boy, that extended all right, as he scores the beginning of the third period to up to the Kings 5-2, which was assisted by Kevin Fibula. There was no fibs in the Bruins, just sucking at the end with an embarrassing defeat similar to the road game against the Sabres a few months back, as the Bruins have lost their 6th game in a row to further their wild card chances down the drain even more at this point. Instead of, I don't think we're going to make the playoffs, you're probably better off buying a Megabucks ticket at your local Packy and with your vodka or whatever and winning the Megabucks. It is sad. Here's our upcoming games. We play tonight at 10, both the Bruins and Celtics on the same time. They play Anaheim, one of our CEO's favorite teams, and a lot of kids in the 90s favorite teams, just because of one of the movies, Ducks Fly Together. There's no flying V on this team, but it may show up tonight to try to sweep the Bruins, as is led by Troy Terry with goals and assists, and gave Bruins their first loss in OT a month prior night after the amazing 4 Nations face-off. The first game back, they beat the Bruins in overtime. They face in a primetime ABC special at the Detroit Red Wings, who are similar to the Bruins. No longer are the days with Yzerman and Shanahan leading teams to 20 consecutive years of the playoff. They are trying to get back there with Dylan Larkin as their captain, and they're 3 points better than Bruins at the moment in the Atlantic Division with 72. And this is going to be a hot ticket on April Fool's Day. April 1st, they return home from their long road trip as they play potential President's Trophy leading in a Metropolitan first place Washington Capitals. Sorry, I really didn't mean that. Washington Capitals. As star player, one of the greats, as face of the league for many years, along with Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin, star Russian. He is now 6 goals behind Wayne Gretzky's all-time leader, the Great 8. Will he break the record in Boston? It remains to be seen. As we're going to get more positive about hockey now, folks, we are going to move on to our Hockey East and Atlantic Hockey Final. That is right, folks. We got a UConn upsetting third place BU 5-2. But Northeastern loses a heartbreaker in an amazing 5-star game. The Maine Black Bears in an overtime thriller. And then Maine defeats UConn to become the Hockey East champion. But we also got a Cinderella story. Yes, we do. We got the Bentley Falcons. And BU came into the first Hockey East semi-game as the top dog, with the Eagles getting upset by the Huskies going down in shocking fashion a week prior to Northeastern. Can they sustain momentum after beating UMass in overtime? Well, let's see about that, what the uprising of the UConn Huskies have to say about that. As the first period come and gone, BU went up 1-0 with the brother duo of the Hutchins came and got the goal and assist to close out the first period. But the uprising started when UConn scored 3 unanswered goals, something you won't see from the Bruins the rest of the year in that building. Tristan Frazier and Ryan Tattle scored the first 2 goals by an amazing jaw-dropping performance from Joey Maloney. Scored his 27th goals of the year from 24 to 27 and is nominated for one of the Hockey East Player of the Year with a bunch of BC and BU guys. Gave the empty netter in the third period, giving the Huskies the 5-1 lead over BU, even though BU scored at the close minute into the game. And the Huskies stunned them with an unanswered blowout, advancing to the Hockey East title game. First off, what a goddamn game this Maine and Northeastern game was. This was amazing to watch on TV. With the Maine crowd traveling as high as 3 to 6 hours, traveling to fill the seats of the TD Garden, as this was a multiple OT thriller, as filled by 4,413 fans. Northeastern comes into this game as the lowest seeded team to make the hockey semis as the 9th seed. Maine dominated most of the game and started nearly 5 minutes left in the third period, with Owen Fowler scoring an opening wrist goal, assisted by Harrison Scott. Maine came out and outshot Northeastern 17-10 in the first period. Right after intermission, Maine got another Owen Fowler goal to make it 2-0. Huskies got a whole lot tougher after the first period as Dylan Harakunian scored a power play goal, his 17th of the year, assisted by captain Cam Lund, which, speaking of the tie game at 2 apiece, he got his 18th goal after a review. And Whitehead has been outstanding for the Eagles. I mean, outstanding for the Huskies, as he ended up getting over almost 57 shots, saves, even though they did lose in overtime. Maine did outshoot the Huskies 38-24 in the game. Northeastern had 34 blocked shots for tonight, which was amazing. And then Maine scored right from the face-off zone in the 61st shot. Owen Fowler had 2 goals earlier in the game, but Reddick scored the overtime goal as the Maine Black Bears advanced to the Hockey East to face the Yukon Huskies. And now it was the first Hockey East final without a Massachusetts school since 2002. And the final the next day was Yukon versus Maine, as the Hockey East final had over 70K at the Garden. The Mainers traveled so well again, as it filled up pretty good, as the Maine Black Bears defeated Yukon Huskies for not only an automatic bid in a tournament, they got the number 1 seed in one of the brackets, which we're going to talk about pretty soon, which Maine defeated Yukon 5-2 with goalie Albin Boja was named Hockey East MVP of the tournament and one of the top 5 goaltenders in the country. But let me introduce you all for the first ever NCAA Division I tournament of the Bentley Falcons team, who was 23-14-2 for the season and is your 2025 Atlantic Hockey champion. They ended the season on a 5-game winning streak and is led by graduate student captain Ethan Lee, who leads the team in points and is a masterpiece in being a defenseman with forward tendencies. It started with being trailed 2-0 in Holy Cross in the first period, but the Falcons rised up with 3 unanswered goals, and Holy Cross did even it to tie it in the third period. But it was all Falcons, with Nick Bochin scoring one of those goals. The Falcons won more faceoffs, 39-22. They defeated Holy Cross by the score of 6-3 to make their first ever D1 tournament appearance. And BC comes into this game after a shocking quarterfinal loss to Northeastern. What an amazing feat for the Bentley Falcons, as the Cinderella will be tested, folks. That is right. We got a big matchup with the closest schools from the house of BMAdawg. We got the closest ones available, and it is going to be an amazing feat to watch. We got a busy day tomorrow, as you got Red Sox opening day and BU plays Ohio State, which we are going to get to momentarily. But here we go. It's an amazing weekend, but college hockey doesn't get the credit they deserve, in my opinion. It is so underrated how well college hockey is in New England and the state of Massachusetts. It doesn't get praised by the Southern schools for football in the SEC or the Midwest Big Ten, like the Ohio States, Michigan, and Penn State. But this is why I'm here for, and IE Sports is here for, to give teams, like I talked about the lacrosse teams earlier, that don't really get any coverage. They just spend an hour to bitch about the Patriots or Bruins struggles or any Boston team that's wrong, which I get is important. Don't get me wrong. We're always going to talk about those teams in season. But anyways, we are going to talk about BC, Bentley, and BU made it in the jurisdiction to our NCAA hockey tournament to try to compete for the Frozen Four. The top-ranked BC Eagles faced the 4th seeded in the bracket, 16th seeded Bentley Falcons in the Manchester bracket on Friday, and they play the winner of Denver versus Providence. It's the BU Terriers is in the Toledo bracket to face the Ohio State Buckeyes on Thursday. I am going to root for BU, obviously, but you can't fail too bad for Ohio State. They won the top championship in all college sports, the college football championship. But we are going to talk about BC versus Bentley. I am torn. I don't know who to root for, but we are guaranteed 3 games to recap next week. This BC Bentley game and the BU game, and the winner of this game will face Denver Providence, making another game to recap. But hopefully we can preview Frozen Four if BU or BC makes it or Bentley makes it, so we can preview that. But BC comes into this game after a shocking quarterfinal loss to Northeastern as the top-ranked team in the country, while Bentley is ranked for the first time ever with 20th out of the top 25. The Falcons also lead the teams in their division, the Atlantic Division, in shot percentage with .93. They also gave about the least amount of goals per game in their division with 2.05 a game, less than any Atlantic opponent, and is great for their goaltender, Connor Hasley, who is a junior and helped the Falcons to history with a save percentage of .923 and had 11 shutouts of the season, as well as 3 of their playoff games. Nick Armstrong-Kincaid had a career game of 2 goals and 2 assists in this prize AC final. And there's a great defenseman who was Nick Boshin, who is second in the team with points and is very physical. BC has a Hobie Baker nominee and was just named Hockey East Player of the Year and leads the team in goals with 29 and leads the team with 47 in Ryan Leonard. If Bentley wants a chance at the glass slipper, they have to make sure BC is not up after 2 periods because they have a 19-0 unbeaten record, the same record the Patriots should have had in 2007, not 18-1 at the leading 2 periods. The battle is going to be very dependent on their goaltenders, as Jacob Fowler is the top-ranked goaltender in the country in Hockey East with only averaging 1.64 game and has a .940 save percent. This will be a battle of the top 5 scoring defenses, as BC is number 2 and Bentley is number 5 in the country with scoring defenses. Bentley will have to go back-to-back against the top penalty to killing teams in the country after beating Holy Cross. But BC is a way bigger challenge, while Bentley has one of the best face-off percentages with top 10 in the country and top in Massachusetts, only behind Providence in the New England region, which the winner of this game must play. But we're moving on to the next team, Boston University Terriers, as they face the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio State Buckeyes is going to be out for revenge after losing at a top rank, who is number 1 in their bracket. The winner of this game will have to play Michigan State, who has a top hockey program, and their women's basketball team defeated Harvard this week earlier. The Ohio State University may have won their football title, but if you follow us on TikTok, we had Ohio State was up 3-2 with 18 seconds left, their women's, and the Wisconsin tied it and caused a lot of arguments in the TikTok. It's pretty funny to see. And Ohio State will not only want to avenge the woman, they'll want revenge after losing a heartbreaker in the Big Ten final to Michigan State. The Ohio State University comes into this all dominant, but BU is led by phenomenal brothers. Quinn Hutchinson, who leads the team in 47 points, top scoring defenseman and one of the top freshmen in the country. Cole Hutchins, speaking of defensemen, BU as the top hockey's blocker in 73 will make the Buckeyes top to get by. BU as the best offensive scorer in Hockey East and top 5 in the country, while both these teams have a weakness in killing penalties. I think the team who has the more power plays in this game will come out the winner, because BU is a super offensive, speedy team, and their key to winning this game will be to stay off the penalty box, as BU has a top 4 rank in the power play opportunities, while Ohio State has not. But we are going to take another break, as this is a longer than usual show, folks, due to the amount of college hockey that is coming on, and that's why I can't cover lacrosse and softball in one episode, because it's going to be a long show, but it's basically a 3-period show like We are done talking some hockey for tonight. I cannot wait to watch BC and Bentley on Friday. It is amazing to see for the first time ever Bentley making it. And we are going to have our two co-main eventers of the evening. The co-headliner will be our Boston Red Sox, starting off our highest expectation since 2021. And the breaking news, injury news of your reigning defending champion Boston Celtics will start after this commercial break. Thank you, folks, for tuning in on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sport.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indie Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys spending time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Thank you very much, folks, for tuning in to one of our longest episodes of the season. As we got some breaking news, Revolution will return next week, and we'll get 3 segments of different weeks of my mock draft predictions for the Patriots, revolving around either Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, or Will Campbell, and see how we're going to build our draft around those in 3 different weeks. We also have softball debuting next week, looking at our teams. We'll have the team we're talking about now, your 2025 Boston Red Sox, as your projected starting pitchers and potential starting lineup. Oh, yeah. We got their highest expectations in years, coming off a pure Webster Dictionary definition of average with their 81-81 out of 162 games last year record. We have announced their starting 5, but before that, Alex Cora has confirmed today that Devers will spend most of his spring after spring training, most of the lineups, unless there's an injury, being our DH. But hey, 2005, David Ortiz became a DH. And now Devers, 20 years later, look what happened to that. They got better at hitting, and Devers doesn't need to be even better at hitting. He's been our ace for the Sox for the past 2 years since Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts left. And Tyler O'Neill had a potential. He's had so many opening day home runs in a row, but he'll be in Baltimore, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. But our starting five is going to be Garrett Crochet, who we got from the Chicago White Sox in a trade. He was a former AL Comeback Player of the Year. He will be our starting pitcher and is going to play former Red Sox and made it to the World Series with the Texas Ranger, Nathan Eovaldi. He is an AL Comeback of the Year. He's been killing it in the preseason. I don't know if he even gave up 5 earned runs. He struck out over 10 guys in this whole preseason. He was fun to watch. And our projected number 2 pitcher, who's had a little bit of a down spring training out of everybody on the pitchers, is Tanner Hoke, who was pretty decent last year. He didn't always get the victories, as we know. He might have been our closer a few years ago, but he is most likely going to be our second guy. And our third guy is Walker Buehler, who did struggle as a starter, but he got better in the postseason for the Dodgers last year, as he got the last out against the Yankees, who will be our number 3 starter. And Richard Fitz, who's been pretty good in the spring training, who was mainly in the reliever in the past. He will be our 4th guy. And our 5th starter won the competition is Sean Newcomb, as he may go slide back into the relieving position once Brian Bello and Kuda Crawford is cleared from injury, as they're going to start their season on the injured reserve, or IL is what they call it in MLB. I think the pitch clock has made the game more funner to watch. I know if it were an 82 game season like the NBA or NHL, it'd be, but with the bad attention span we all have nowadays with all our smartphones and technology, it is good that they have the pitch clock. It makes the games faster and more fun when you're in person and watching on TV. As Sean Newcomb is going to be our 5th starter. He is a Brockton native and got his start with the Braves before bouncing to a bunch of teams. And we have been named a closer. It is Adolis Chapman, who came from the Angels and the Pirates, who is going to be the closer. A lot of his pitches have been going from 97 to 100 miles per hour. A lot of people are worried about him being the closer. But any of these top 5 starters that I can think of is going to have to move to the bullpen anyways. If we can keep our pitching staff healthy and make our mistakes on the infield, limit our mistakes, we have potential, as some of these experts may even think the Red Sox not only win the AL East, but overcome the Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankees to be the top dogs in the American League East and possibly face teams like the Phillies, Mets, or the Dodgers in the or the Braves in the World Series. As Liam Hendriks, who a lot of people want to be the closer, I think will be our setup guy, similar to how Okajima was in the past before Papelbon. He does throw great flat fastballs. As Garrett Whitlock will be a reliever, same as Justin Staton, who could be the closer for Sox before year's end, as Whitlock is coming out of a real bad injury and started some games in the past. But let's name your starting lineup for your 2025 projected. We won't find out until 4:30 tomorrow, 3:30 in the Central Time Zone. Leading off first is going to be left fielder Jarren Duran, who was All-Star MVP. Second will be Rafael Devers, who was a DH and had an RBI single his first game back from spring training. And our new acquisition, our grand prize, former Gold Glove winner and 2-time World Series champion Alec Bregman at third base. Number 4 will be Tristan Casas, who before his injury was really good as a hitter, really good getting these singles and doubles. And we got Trevor Story, who was amazing in Colorado, but hasn't got off the injury prone. But it doesn't matter if he does, because we got a lot of experts, a lot of prospects that could be called up. And 6, amazing Gold Glover, but has to work on his pitching better, is Wilbin Abreu. And we got 7th, we got our catcher, Connor Juan, who's turned about be good as. Jason Varitek is one of our coach with managers, Alex Cora. We got Christian Campbell, the star prospect who won MILB Player of the Year, has potential to be Rookie of the Year, as a lot of the experts are predicting. And 9, center fielder C-Dan Rafaela, who's great at stealing bases and is a phenomenal outfielder. But you got 2 big prospects as they played 2 exhibition games in Mexico. Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony will most likely be sent to Worcester, but it won't be for long. As well as Yoshida, because he's a phenomenal hitter, but because we have so many great outfielders, he's going to have to work on his outfielding in the Woosah. It might be worth to go drive up and sit through that horrible Mass Pike traffic to get to a game. But I think by All-Star break, Anthony will take one of the starting jobs because someone's going to get injured, unfortunately. Alex Bregman now talked about in Cora how they expect their defense to get better. They worked on a lot of fielding drills because we had a lot of errors, one of the top 5 in the AL in errors, which cost us a playoff spot and winning more games, just like our bullpen. But this is a tough division because the Yankees, don't count the Yankees out, folks. They're most likely going to be first, and the Orioles, who have Aldi Rutschman as one of their players, even though they lost to the Blue Jays with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, who's gonna rise up this year. The Blue Jays, you can't sleep on them. But the Tampa Bay Rays, I don't think I'm gonna worry about them like a lot of teams because they do have a new they play at George Steinbrenner Field where the Yankees play spring training. But the Yankees did lose Garrett Cole, I know that. But they also got Cody Bellinger, who played for the Phillies and Cubs, and they have Stanton. You can't forget him, Giancarlo Stanton, who is recovering from his elbow injury. But you got Paul Goldschmidt as well for the Yankees, and Clark Smith needs to step up in the starter role to be elite like Garrett Cole was, a potential Cy Young winner. But you cannot count the Yankees out. This team needs to prove it on the field. We haven't made the playoffs since we lost to the Astros in the 2021 ALCS. We have to prove it. We can't listen. We can't let expectations get in the way. Who knows? Our injuries could be a problem and could be a downward spiral. But to be honest with you, folks, I have their record not 81 or below. I'm going to go 87-78 is my projected record. I think we're going to make a wild card spot. I do, but you got the Houston Astros. You got the Seattle Mariners if Julio Rodriguez can get back to his form competing in the AL West. You got the Rangers could be potential World Series winners, even though the AL West 2 teams are a joke, as we know. One of them doesn't have a home. I mean, even when they did in the worst stadium in football in Oakland, the A's didn't even have like 100 fans a game. Come on. And the Angels, I know our CEO, Larry B, loves this team, but I can't take them seriously if they didn't make the playoffs with Ohtani and Trout all these years. I'm sorry. I can't take that seriously. But the Red Sox do have a lot to prove because they were one of the most expensive ballparks at Fenway. John Henry's got to prove that he cares about the team. We have to not get over carried away. Let's aim for a playoff berth. I want to win the division as much as anyone else, but you can't count out Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees. Our biggest rivalry in sport. I can't wait till they play each other again. It's going to be amazing. Fireworks are going to flash. But anyways, before we move on to our main event of the evening and our play of the week, we start off tomorrow at 4:30 at the Texas Rangers with Garrett Crochet versus Nathan Eovaldi, a pitch and matchup for the ages as till April 2nd. We play the Baltimore Orioles for our 3-game stand before return to Fenway and taking on the St. Louis Cardinals a week from Friday for our opening day. I hope we can get at least 2 out of the Rangers and 2 out of the Orioles, at least 1 from them. If we can start off 4-3 against these 2 teams, as the Angels have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball, getting all these good hitters, it is amazing what this team can do. Pitching is their weakness, but let's see how far we go. We will recap these 2 series next week. If we can start off 4-3, I'll be completely happy if we go to Fenway with a winning record next week. But that is enough of the Sox. Baseball is around the corner, and I am so excited. But it's time to get ready, folks. it is time to get ready to almost close out the night as we got our main eventer of the evening, and it is your reigning, defending 19-time NBA champions of the world, your Boston Celtics. Woo! That is right, folks. It is our main eventer of the evening. I, at the Beantown Sports Pound, always intend to finish stuff strong. I always try to have my main eventer. It may not be the Celtics next week main eventing. It could be the Red Sox. I have to decide that by the weekend for you folks. But our Boston Celtics are well-deserved of the main event spot. Absolutely. They are playing phenomenal. Yes, they are. But first, we got a big sale. Wynn Grossback, who is owner with Steve Pagliuca, Boston Basketball LLC, sold to Bill Croson, who's a longtime North Shore native, owning the Symphony Technology Group, who is a lifelong resident of Boston. When Grossback bought the team in 2002, it was with the Antoine Walker very forgettable days. Yes, we drafted Paul Pierce, the truth. But they struggled, if you remember the years in the early 2000s, and we got cursed losing in the lottery to the Spurs, who got Tim Duncan in the draft. And the Celtics did get not till 2008 where they started to really shine, as we got the big three, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce, when they overcame. And we got 2 world titles from Grossbeck. As Steven Pagliuca, a lot of people wish he ended up buying the team. But it could have been worse. It could have been Jeff Bezos, who wouldn't have cared. It could have been John Henry, who, sigh of relief, he has an opportunity to redeem himself, as I just talked about. But thank God it is a Massachusetts native who supposedly cares about winning. Talk to Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens deserves all the money in the world for how he built this team. Even when Tatum and Brown are up, our bench is so good. We have the best depth in all of basketball, college and pros. Even though there is a New England native leading the Duke Blue Devils, Cooper Flagg, a Maine native who is going to lead this team to potentially the national championship in Duke, who I have winning in my bracket. Those were phenomenal games this Saturday, Arkansas, Calipari versus Rick Pitino, who was former coach of the Celtics, and when he left, things were disaster. And St. John's, who had a bounce-back season. Absolutely. We also had that UConn-Florida game, was one of the best games I've seen. And as like the Chiefs in football, UConn did not three-peat. Unfortunately, he is the right one, but I believe that UConn is the right pick for the team, and is going to bounce back next year. They won 2 back-to-back. I admit I had them in the Final Four. I was stupid, of course, but if they had upset Florida, which they nearly did, a lot of people either have Duke or Florida in their brackets, or Auburn to win, because the SEC schools have flourished in college basketball, where Boston has lacked. BC hasn't made the playoffs in over 13 years, and Northeastern and BU hasn't made any opportunities in their stuff. Hopefully that changes. We're going to cover basketball next year too. But anyways, back to the Celtics. As we had a scare, Jason Tatum injured his leg in Sacramento with a cheap shot by Sabonis of the Kings. But we're going to recap the games first. We started off with the Jazz, who I saw a few weeks prior, where Tatum was out, but Jaylen Brown did have a good game, and that was when Sam Hauser had 7 threes in the third quarter. But Tatum had a nice out-of-bounds steal from Georgia, the Jazz, and a sick assist to Sam Hauser to end the first quarter in that game. He had a nice slam dunk. Flipper Scott from the Jazz had a great fake shot and swish from 33 in the second quarter. It was a struggle for the season that game, but Peyton Pritchard made a bad turnover from the three-point line. Sam Hauser made a nice 3 right after a Pritchard pass, which had the Celtics on 11-2 run against the Jazz, who is currently run. They're probably going to turn around because Danny Ainge is the GM of that team. You got Al Horford, who had great 2 offensive rebound drive, and then Hauser stole the ball when he got a bucket after that great play when there was a turnover right before that. White Derek White had a shutdown block that nailed a Jazz defender that got the wind out of him with forward George. And then Will Kessler blocked a Derek White shot right after that. The Celtics have had the best scoring defense in the NBA since February. Porzingis has had 21 points in that first half. And Kessler of the Jazz, who's lead the team in rebounds all year, they have a good defense, even though they're the worst team in the NBA Western Conference, had 10 rebounds. Utah routed to cut the Celtics lead into 2, but then White got his third steal of the night to grow the lead to 7. Drew Holiday, who's nice to be back. He's a great assist to set good threes. He made a nice steal and then passed to Tatum to quickly grow their lead to 15. And the Celtics did end up killing the Jazz in that game as they move on to Portland. The Celtics came in with Porzingis, Holiday, and Brown out with injuries, which is 3 of them injured. But Peyton Pritchard, an Oregon native with his family that was making his first start of the season, but he thought he didn't play his greatest game, but he even said in the post game that he should just come off the bench. The Celtics led the Trailblazers in second chance points with 6-0, but we also got some bench guys to step up, including J.D. Davidson, who hasn't gotten a lot of playing time all year. The G League up in Maine, he leads them all-time leader in points, which is pretty good, which he, like Bayless Shearman, will do really well in the future with the Celtics. As Tatum did make a good alley hoop to Luke Cornett, the Celtics bench in that game outscored them 12-0 in the first quarter. But Bayless Shearman, speaking of them, and J.D. Davidson, the young guys, combined in the first quarter. 11 minutes of playing time, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. Portland did outplay us in the second quarter. Hauser was 6 through 7 in the 3-point range in the first half. Tatum had 16 points in the third quarter, and Pritchard was killing it in 3-pointers. But 3 Trailblazer players tied first half at 17 points. White made a 6th steal, but Torrey Craig got fouled, who was struggling in all his opportunities. But Shaedon Sharpe had 24 points of the Portland Trailblazers. This is our 3rd straight year the Celtics swept the Portland Trailblazers, but then they have a test. A team that looked like it was going to go above and overachieved a few years ago, losing to Curry and the Warriors, the Sacramento Kings. They came in with an even record at 35-35. This game was very even until the fourth quarter, as the Celtics only led by 1. But the story of the night was DeMar DeRozan did lead the team in points all year. And this is a key player. Domantas Sabonis lead the team in rebounds and number 1 ranked rebounder in the NBA with 13.9 a game. The Celtics had 19 3-pointers in the game and is an NBA record, the 70th time in 72 games this season. But boy, it did not feel like an extension of a 7-game winning streak as for the defending champs, as a scary incident happened late in the third quarter when Jason Tatum nailed his 5th 3 of the night. If you saw the replay, it could be his final points of the 2025 regular season, as when he drained a 3 and the swish, Sabonis with a cheap foot stop not only caused Tatum to fall, but injure and sprain his ankle. This is going to be a key test for the Celtics going into postseason. But our toughest games are this next 3 games coming up, but after that, it gets easier. But if we rest Tatum for the last 10 games of the regular season, if this team stays healthy, we are going to go far. But our whole key is our health. The best case scenario, according to Joe Mazzulla, is a 1 to 2 week sprain. Tatum was on his way to get a double-double as he had 7 rebounds and 8 assists as well. But Luke Cornett stepped up, next man up of the night, grabbing 6 out of 7 field goals. First-round pick Bayless Shearman has been outstanding with his playing opportunities as he stepped up in the fourth quarter. This was one of only 11 games all year and could be the last that the original starting opening day lineup of Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday, and Porzingis all started the game. But like I said, health issues have been a big cause for our team. But Brown did struggle in the game, but didn't matter because Derek White and Luke Cornett stepped up with White scoring a ton of 3s for Pritchard and Tatum and Porzingis for tonight. but the Celtics won 7 in a row as their upcoming games is tonight at 10 o'clock. Them and the Bruins are on their West Coast road trip playing at the same time. To the Phoenix Suns, who made the finals a few years ago, with star Kevin Durant and the longtime star Devin Booker, who once scored 70 points against the Celtics years back. They are looking like their old selves that made it to the finals against Giannis and the Bucks years ago, as they won 4 in a row and are currently in the 10th seed for the play-in tournament in the Western Conference. This is going to be a tough game for the Celtics, especially without Tatum. This is a good test for them because it is a potential trap game. And then a few days later, they go to San Antonio Spurs. This will be the least stressful out of their remaining road trip, as the Spurs lost their star center, up-and-coming NBA face of the franchise, Victor Wembanyama, for the remainder of the season with an injury. But they do have Chris Paul, who averages 7 assists a game, the longtime veteran, and former King De'Aaron Fox. This team is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the West for the next 5 years. They could give Celtics a hard time that the Jazz had at home a few weeks ago. But it all ends against the Grizzlies, who are fighting with the Lakers and Nuggets for the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, as SGA and the Thunder are all the way going to clinch the 1 seed. Similar to how the Celtics are. The Cavaliers snapped their long losing streak, as the Celtics are down 4 or 5 games against number 1. We basically won the Eastern Atlantic Conference. So 1 or 2 seed, it doesn't matter. In the coming weeks, I'll preview the potential play-ins in the Eastern Conference, but they play the Memphis Grizzlies on March 31st to end their road trip, as there'll be tough competition because star player J.A. Morant has currently been out for 4 games with a hamstring injury, and they are one of the best defensive teams in the league, with number 2 out of all NBA in blocks and rebounds per game. And this is awesome. The Celtics make me so proud to be a fan. They keep coming up with adversity. They keep killing it. They keep proving people wrong, and they are the top dogs, not only in the all-day NBA, but in Boston sports right now. As the Patriots and Red Sox look like they're going to get through their slumps, and the Bruins look like the stock's going down, unfortunately. But before we end the night, we thank you all for tuning in, but we still have one player of the week. Who is it going to be? Ooh, it is a Celtic. And it is our first ever 2-time player of the week. He was our inaugural player of the week in our very first episode. Face of Boston franchise, Jason Tatum. We wish him well. He was getting almost triple doubles. He had 1 game where he had 25 points and 9 assists and 9 rebounds. He was consistent in all 3 games since we went off the air last week. But congratulations to him. Morgan Geekie was obviously my honorable guy. Same as Porzingis, but Porzingis was out 1 game. But it will be interesting to see how the Celtics go forward, as we are going to be done for the night, folks. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, as it is time to wrap it up, as we are going to check one more time in the comments section. Rick Kessler, thank you for tuning in, saying love that core, made the right call for the team and not give in on Devers. Absolutely. He gets paid so much, Devers, that shouldn't even matter. You adjust the play. As next week we start our mock draft series, we also check in to see how the Celtics are doing without Tatum. Can the Bruins look for the future? Who is going to come out of the BC Bentley game, and will BU survive against Ohio State and potentially Michigan State? We will debut softball, and we got more coming up in the future as we look forward to summer with our supporters club. Maybe you can vote on the open nest segment and more. Thank you all for tonight. It was a great show. Got a lot to get through. Thank you to Taryn Rodriguez, Ralph Calise, and Rick Kessler for tuning in, and all my fans on my personal Facebook for listening for the very first time. This is BMAdawg signing off. Woo! Good night, all.